Thank you, Jeremy. So before Carolyn introduces, or Carolyn, do you want to do this part too?
Sure.
Go for it.
Okay, Jennifer Fenton and I are your facilitators for today, for First Tuesday, and we thank you for coming. I think you're going to have a very informative presentation, and we're glad that you are going to take advantage of this live opportunity to ask questions of our presenter. So, if you need technical support, here is some additional information for both Joe and Jeremy, who will be happy to help you. I did notice already that we did get what I call the hydrogen voice, or the helium voice, I should say. Occasionally, you will have some broadband feed issues, and either the voice will lag or the voice will get really thin and tinny, and then it smooths out. So that does, it usually goes away and takes care of itself, but if there are any extended issues, we do ask that you contact either Jeremy or Joe. And then, of course, we are sponsored by the Office of the Secretary of State, and we work for Washington State Library. And we are funded by the Institute of Museum and Library Services for this continuing education effort. And so now we ask that everyone please type in the chat your name and the library and organization that you are associated with. So we'd appreciate if you do that right now. Go ahead and everybody start typing. Thank you. We'll see all the little type buttons clicking in, so we'll wait just a few minutes before we get started. And once we have that done with everybody's, library, what you're associated with, we'd appreciate that. Okay, I see we have folks from South Portland Public Library, from Pierce County Library, from Walla Walla Rural Library District, Ellensburg Public Library. I see other folks typing. Dilley Public Library. Where is Dilley Public Library? Is that out of state? We're always happy to welcome our out-of-state folks. So where is Dilley located? Okay, and I see Deborah, Mid-Columbia is Prosser, Katie, and it's in Texas. Thanks. And South Portland is in Maine. Great. Well, we're welcome, everyone. We're very happy to welcome you today. And I'd like to introduce our presenters for Bringing Up Baby. Charity and Sara both work when they developed this program as youth services librarians for the Mid-Columbia libraries, which are located in the center of Washington State, around the Tri-Cities. In that capacity, they developed youth services initiatives that they did across the library system. And since that time, Mid-Columbia has adopted a new strategic plan, and that it focuses more on collections. So both Charity and Sara have now moved into tech services, where they work as collections librarians. And with that as introduction, I'd like to turn the mics over to Charity and Sara. I will be, they are comfortable with you asking questions during their presentation. Please type them in chat, and I will bring them to their attention as we go along. So thanks again, and Charity and Sara, the mic is yours.
All right, this is Sara Johnson. I will be starting out. Charity and I tend to banter back and forth, so we'll try to keep that to a minimum because it's a little bit hard with the lag on vocals, so I hope everyone can hear me. We started doing baby showers probably about 3 years ago. We belong to a group of local organizations that work with early literacy. At the time that we were working with Our Babies Can't Wait, we also have the Early Learning Alliance here. And with those organizations, we came up with this idea. Our Babies Can't Wait was having a difficult time getting in touch with their target audience, which was new parents. Their focus was on first-time parents. Either the mother or the father could be a first-time parent, and getting information about resources in the community to them. Things like, where they can find food assistance, housing assistance, stuff like that. So while at our Babies Can't Wait meeting, we had this idea of just throwing a baby shower. And the library just seemed like a natural fit for that, so that's how we started doing them. And that's kind of what I've been talking about here on the how it all began. Like I said, we chose our location as the library because it's a pretty central place. Most of our libraries are pretty community-centered, so it's a place that would be easy for people who have transportation issues to get to. Where we threw our first one was at our Keewaydin Park branch, which is right next to a bus stop, right across the street from a high school. And we did have, at that first one, a lot of high school students show up. We had, making our contacts with organizations was really easy for us. We were in, I hope it's not a unique situation, but since we were involved in the Early Learning Alliance and the Our Babies Can't Wait organization, we had a really easy time finding contacts because we were already working with a lot of these people. But we also reached out to doctors' offices and teen parenting groups, child care resources, other early learning organizations, places that offered pregnancy assistance, hospitals, other state agencies, to get the information out and offer them the opportunity to come and share their information at a baby shower.
This is Charity. So one of the things that we wanted to do for you guys in this presentation is give you ideas of where you can connect with organizations. So part of the things we're going to talk about in this presentation is what partner organizations we worked with, what we do at the Mid-Columbia Libraries.
Apologies for interrupting. Just a reminder to turn off one of the mics when not being in use. So we're hearing an echo from both people being in the same room.
Okay. Can you hear without the echo now?
Both microphones are still on.
Okay. Can you not hear the echo now?
No echo. Sorry.
Okay, excellent. Sorry about that. Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to do in this presentation was let you guys know how we went how the whole program of baby showers was developed from start to end. So one of the things we wanted to do was really focus on what partner organizations we worked with so you could get ideas of your own communities, because we realized that not everybody has an Our Babies Can't Wait or an Early Learning Alliance already established in their communities. So we wanted to give you ideas of where you could go to get partners to do a program like this in your library. We also wanted to focus on what we do at the Mid-Columbia Libraries, how we promoted the program, what resources that we focused on and using in the program, and how the program's future, so where we think it's going. Okay, so some of the organizations that we connected with was our United Way. A lot of United Ways really do a lot of initiative campaigns, and ours was really focused on early learning and babies in particular. So they have an initiative called Our Babies Can't Wait, where they're really trying to tie parents and communities with getting babies the necessities they need to help them be equipped for school and to be healthy and happy. So you can always contact United Ways in your community and see if they have a similar initiatives. Another agency is WIC, and most communities do have a WIC agency. It's Women, Infant, and Children. It's usually a nutrition program to make sure that babies and families are getting the nutrition that they need. And WIC was there to provide services and let people know that they had Medicaid outreach and WIC services available, because a lot of lower income families don't necessarily know that this is available for them. Another agency was our Benton Franklin Health District, and they provided immunization information and well baby care info. A lot of parents don't necessarily understand the need for immunizations, and so we thought it was a great place for them to connect with, especially young parents and new first-time families, on what really is needed to make sure that babies are happy and healthy. Another agency was our local Tri-Tech. Our community is really unique in that we have specific grads programs, and these programs are specifically geared towards teenagers who have dropped out of high school because they have gotten pregnant. So they have special schools special high schools within our community that really target pregnant families, pregnant teens. And TriTech offered information on shaken baby syndrome and information on the GRADS program to make sure that parents, teenagers specifically, could get their education in addition to providing info about babies. And then lastly on this slide was our local Children's Reading Foundation. And there are reading foundations across the nation. I'm not necessarily sure it's national program. Ours, they offered information about reading with children, and they're Ready for Kindergarten program, which starts at birth, and they do specialized courses for families on what you do at each year to help get their kids ready for kindergarten. And they also offered, a lot of these agencies brought with them giveaways and fun raffles that would help make parents connect with the information and make it more fun.
Okay, we threw in some pictures in here just for, fun, seeing how the program goes. This is one of our local organizations, which is actually on the next slide, talking to one of the parents that came. This is some more of the organizations that we were working with. We actually have a local dentistry office that comes, and they have a really fun booth. It looks like a Hawaiian village, basically. And they handed out baby toothbrushes, talked about dental care for infants. A lot of parents, especially lower income parents who don't have the health education sometimes, they don't necessarily know how to take care of their baby's teeth, or that they even really need to do anything about it until they have a full set of teeth. A lot of parents don't realize how much dental care you have to do for infants and when their first teeth come in. So it was great having them come. And most communities have some sort of pediatric dentist around that they could contact that would probably be perfectly willing to come out and talk to them. We also have the infant toddler program from the Arc of Tri-Cities come out, and they bring information about shaken baby syndrome and its causes. They actually have one of those dolls that brains rattles around in its head. You can actually see what happens when you shake a baby. They bring information about the period of purple crying. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with that. It's basically an acronym for when babies start crying. And they gave away hats for infants. We also had a local doulas group that talked about postpartum care and home births. The local Head Start office was there, and they brought information about early childhood education and child care for their children. Charity wanted me to ask a question. Going back to the infant toddler program, we want to know if you can raise your hand, just yes or no. Yes would be raising your hand. If anyone's heard of the period of purple crying, because we can talk a little bit more about that if you haven't. Has anybody heard? We have one no. 2 no's. 3 no's. Well, we'll go ahead and talk about it a little bit. This may involve some clicking back and forth between Charity and I. But I don't remember precisely what the acronym stands for. But it's basically an acronym about when a child starts to cry. Because infants have an arc of intense crying. Naomi Smith says, yes, hospitals give away purple hats away to new moms. Yes, and that is part of that initiative for period of purple crying. Because infants start their intense crying right around 2 to 4 months, where some of the things in that acronym are that it's unexpected, that there doesn't seem to be a cause for it, that you're not able to soothe them, and it's just explaining to parents that this is a natural thing It's going to hit a high point and then it'll start coming down because what they have found is that during this period of purple crying, and if you look at period of purple crying online, you can see what the acronym is. There are websites. It's a national initiative. Peaks of crying. Oh, Jeremy, thank you. Peak of crying, unexpected, resist soothing, pain-like face, long-lasting, and it's more common in the evening. Thank you very much, Jeremy. But what they want people to think about when they think about the period of purple crying, and they actually have them watch videos at the hospital about it, is that this is when shaken baby syndrome is the most common, and it's to try to protect the babies so their parents have a greater understanding of what's going on. Because if you have a brand new infant at home and you've never been around babies, you do not understand why your child is crying. I mean, even if you've had another baby, you don't necessarily understand if your previous child didn't have the same crying peaks. So it's an initiative that's nationwide about this period of purple crying to help try to lessen the number of shaken baby incidents. So that's what that's all about. If your local hospital works with this, this would be a great thing to have at a baby shower just because it's such important information. Anyway, so moving along. I think we talked about the doulas and Head Start. We had our local DSHS, Apple's Health for Kids, bring information about Medicaid and signed up people for health care. You may want to check and see exactly how that works now, given the new health care laws. I'm sure it's changed a little bit, but I'm sure they'd be able to come out and work with you guys getting parents signed up. And then we had Molina Healthcare come out and they had some giveaways. And then here's another picture from one of our baby showers. This is the Miss Charity cameo. She is on the left talking to the lady. I am not in here at all. I'm the photographer, so I'll remain a mystery.
All right, so a couple other organizations that we worked with was the 211, which is available throughout Washington, and they're basically a resource clearinghouse. So people would call into 211 and it connects them to community resources. So a lot of people don't necessarily know that this is available in their community. You can just call 211 and they will give you information on what child care places you have, or if you need connection to how to sign up for Medicare, or what job agencies are available, or education. So it's not just focused on children. It kind of has a wealth of information for everyone. So it's a great agency to connect the community with, especially for new parents, because they may not know how to contact pediatricians or dentists, and this would give them that information. Another of our agencies that we worked with was Child Care Aware, and they actually are daycare and preschool clearinghouse, and they work with daycares and preschools to make sure that they're meeting Washington State certification and are following all of the letters of the law in terms of child care. But they also keep a listing of all of the available daycares and preschools in the area. So if parents are looking for care for their children, if they're going back to work, which many families do have two working parents, it's a great place to connect them with so they can get quality care for their kids. And then lastly, on our organizations that we worked with was the Tri-City Pregnancy Network. And they're similar to kind of like a I can't think of the word, sorry. They offer free testing for parents and screening for pregnant mothers, and they also give access to information for mothers and during pregnancy, and free diapers and formula. So they're a great way to connect, especially pregnant mothers. Oh, they're kind of like a Planned Parenthood. That's the word I was thinking of. But they're a great way for, especially, we had a lot of teens that we worked with in our first few baby showers, and they are not aware of a lot of the resources that are available to them. So this was a great way to connect them to health care for themselves and give them testing that is necessary during pregnancy. For those agencies that were not available to have a booth at our baby shower, we did allow them to drop off information because we have a lot of people that we realize that have a lot of commitments or they don't have the staffing to come and spend time at a baby shower. So we did offer the possibility for organizations to just drop off flyers or information or business cards that people could pick up at an information booth at the table as well. And this not only made it easier for more organizations to participate, but it also made it so that people got more information on site at the event as well.
Okay, so kind of moving into what we did. And now when we talk about what we did, I want everyone to know that we had a pretty well-funded program at the time we started these. Early literacy was our #1 strategic goal. Not that they're not carrying on now that it's not our #1 strategic planning goal. But some of the things that we did, we fully understand wouldn't be possible for everybody, but you could do them in some kind of augmented way. One of the things that we did is we actually had books to give away. And we had from board books to picture books, and we did provide them in both English and Spanish because we do have a very large Spanish-speaking population here. So we had that available. We had information about the library. We had staff that provided information about them getting a library card, what types of materials were available for both their newborn and for themselves. We do have a large parenting collection that was very helpful for people who had new infants. Different programs that we have, like story time, summer reading program, different things to get them involved in the library, both their families and them with their child. And then we also had suggested reading lists. We have 100 best books children should know before kindergarten that we gave them. We have other reading lists for children. We have a Spanish language reading list for children. So we had that. We had early literacy information. We provided attendees with information about every child ready to read and about brain development. We actually set up a display that suggested activities that they could do with their child for brain development. And we even had a little brain so they could see what part of the brain was being used with these different activities. Our board had color-coded cards that matched the brain because our brain had multiple colors in it. And so the activity that they were doing, whatever color card it was on, went with whatever part of the brain was that color. So you could kind of get an idea of what part of the brain the child was using when they did that activity. And then we had craft activities, as only a library can do. We had a little, we call them lovey blankets, but they're those blankets that tie on the sides that we did for them, or that they made for themselves. We also had onesies that they could decorate with felt pins for their baby. We decided not to do any games because we kind of wanted to make it more of a fair atmosphere, so they could come and go as they please. When they came and got the information that they wanted, did the activities that they wanted, they weren't required to stay for the whole thing to win a prize or anything like that. And these like I was saying, these kind of activities are not necessarily necessary. Although you may have, you know, a local organization that does a lot of crafty things that would have materials left over that you'd be able to use for something like this. You guys know your communities and what would be available to you. We also had refreshments. We did get some comments about providing cake, but it was a baby shower, so we thought cake was totally appropriate, and we just made sure they got the message. This is a party atmosphere, so you get cake, but every day you should not be eating cake. But and water. We had water for everybody. As for staffing, we were lucky enough that we were able to have 4 or 5 staff members attend each event, so that each table that the library provided would be manned. However, some of the tables could be pretty self-serve. Maybe not the cake table. You don't want children being able to serve themselves cake, but you would be able to do it with a lot less staff. Or you could use volunteers, depending on what you have as rules for volunteers. And that's pretty much what the library was doing. And this is a picture of Mr. Mike. He was one of our we have an AmeriCorps volunteer every year, and he was our volunteer when we first started doing this, and he had a great time. Charity's trying to figure out where her talk button went, so I will keep talking. You will get my joy. This is somebody with their onesie that they decorated. I couldn't even begin to tell you what it says because I don't speak much Spanish. Yes, Charity's panel disappeared, Jeremy. And these are some people making the little lovey blankets. I'm sure you've seen these blankets around. They're a pretty common craft activity. Ours were about 1 foot by 1 foot. It's possible you accidentally go to view restore default layout. Yeah, these are a pretty common craft if you haven't seen them, but they're pretty easy to make. They're only required scissors and some cutting. So we had volunteers that would prep our craft material. Actually, by volunteer, Mr. Mike prepped most of our craft material. He had a great time with that. If you can imagine cutting hundreds and hundreds of 1 foot by 1 foot pieces of flannel, but he was a great help. And I think Miss Charity is back, so I'm going to let her talk for a while now.
Excellent. Sorry about that. I must have pushed something and I got detached and couldn't find my board anymore. All right, so one of the ways that we wanted to connect with the community is to have flyers or something like that to promote the program. But we felt that a flyer was a little too impersonal, so we created invitations, because what else do you use at a baby shower but an invitation? So we created a nice quarter sheet document that looked really nice, was full color. We have a marketing department here that produces some really nice things for us, so we had them produce it. And we have an example of it on the next slide that you'll get to see. But what we did with this was we really used targeted groups to invite. We didn't just blanket the community with baby shower invitations, because although this would be somewhat helpful, we really wanted to make sure that the invite and that the baby shower was reaching the communities that we wanted to. So we focused on giving it out at WIC clinics. We dropped it off at doctor's offices, OBU offices, to make sure that pregnant moms were getting this. We worked with all the pregnancy clinics to make sure that this was dropped off there. We worked with our teen parenting groups, because not only were we targeting pregnant parents, but we also wanted to target those kids, those parents that had just had a baby within the last year. So they may already have an infant. So we wanted to work with those people that have young children. And we also made it available with all the people who are participating at their organizations as well. So this was somewhat of a costly promotion just because of the higher quality of the invite, but you could always do it via email, or also send out just 8x8 flyers that you produce yourself. We did do some public promotion. We put it in certain coffee shops. We did it at daycares. We have migrant councils that we work with, and we put it in their offices and sent it home with parents. So we also posted it on our website as well. We try to do a lot of e-marketing, but we do realize that in these communities, they're not necessarily people who are looking at our website, so we wanted to do something printed and tangible that they could take with them, because they may not have access to online resources. So we really wanted to make sure we had the full spectrum of promotion for this program. And this is an example of our community baby shower. We actually have one coming up in November on the 13th. It's really simple. It has a when and a where, and then what is included. Some of the things that they've added are a presentation. And we'll talk about this in the future as well, but you can see some of the things that they're trying to promote here. The free books, the games, community resources. They're doing a diaper cake raffle that was donated by our friends of the Mid-Columbia Libraries, and then of course cake, and then time to socialize with other new parents. But it's pretty simple. It has a cute little baby on the front. So that is what our invite looks like right now. This is a picture of one of our baby showers in progress. You can see all the parents. We have tables in the center that are set up for the crafts that we did, the blanket and the bibs. And then the tables are set up around the room so that people can freely move to wherever they want and get the information that they need for them. So we really wanted to try and make it as informal as possible so that people did not feel like they had to sit and attend at a specific time. We did have parents that came through in the middle, at the beginning, at the end, so it really just spanned a certain time period that they could come in whenever they wanted. This is another of our branches. This is our Keewaydin Park branch. And we actually did it in the back of the library because our meeting room space in that library is rather small, so we didn't have the capacity to hold an event like this, so we just used the library. And we did do it right upon closing, so it was on a day when they weren't as busy, so we tried to make sure that we didn't take up the library when they were really, really busy. So we tried to make it as opportune as possible for not only the people that were attending, but as well as branch staff to not overburden them with numerous people.
Okay, one thing I would like to mention about that last picture is that was our first baby shower, and we were really nervous about how many people would turn out. You know, we had a number of people where we would feel successful, and we thought if we could have 20 parents show up, we would be thrilled because, you know, nobody had done anything like this in our community, and we had no idea how well the word got out. I mean, there's only, I'm sure everybody's aware when you do a library program, there's only so much you can do to get the word out, especially when it's a brand new program that people don't necessarily understand that well. And we were blown away. We had over 100 people show up to our first baby shower. It was amazing, and we were so excited. We ended up having to cut much smaller pieces of cake, but we were just so excited about how well the first one went, and they continued to do well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what resources you need, maybe some adjustments you can make if you don't have as many resources. As I said before, we typically had about 4 or 5 staff at each event, but most of the prep work for the event was completed by one person. As I said, Mr. Mike did most of our craft prep, and we just kind of got stuff together. The actual event wasn't a lot of work. For example, if you only have 2 people who could do it, maybe have a volunteer on the cake table, have somebody at your library table. The craft tables are pretty self-explanatory. If you have an example, maybe have somebody around who can explain briefly how to do the blankets, but they're pretty easy, and most people have seen them before. So, and as I said, all it takes is a pair of scissors and your fingers, so it's not a difficult activity to do. You need a meeting space. Like I said, we decided that the library was probably, for our communities, the best place to hold these. If the library is not in a very central area, you could go to a school, you could use any community space. If you have a community center that would be willing to let you use their space, but any place where people could gather. for us, the library was also advantageous because then our collection was right there. If people wanted to check out materials, it was great for the library and getting information into people's hands right there. Some basic supplies that we had for our crafts, the supplies were actually fairly limited. We had purchased bibs and fabric markers and scissors and fleece. We kind of we're both kind of bargain shoppers, so when we found, watched the local ads for a good deal on fleece, and we just bought a lot of it when they had it on sale. And we had, your typical boy material, your typical girl material, and then kind of a either way material, so they could make whatever kind of blanket they wanted. You needed stuff for the refreshments, basically just cups, plates, forks, napkins, and then clearly cake and water. A cake is something that could potentially easily be donated if it's not something that you could purchase. A lot of places are willing to do that. We would just buy a large cake at Costco, which was a fairly inexpensive way to get a lot of cake. For us, we had books to give away. And like I said, just remember that crafts and refreshments are not a requirement of the program. Getting the resources to parents is what's important. But if you want to do those things, a lot of craft stores or grocery stores are willing to donate those kinds of items. We only do our program about every 3 or 4 months, so it's not like a huge request of your local stores. So. We also had advertising. We have, like I said, we have a marketing department, but we still had a pretty limited marketing budget. They did the invitation. We only printed 100 copies and distributed those around town, and then we sent the one to our other organizations via email as a PDF, so they could print them out as they needed to. And for the financial impact, like I said, we had a fairly well-funded program, but it could be as big or small as you would like it to be, and whatever works best for your library. Here's one of the first families that went to our baby showers. They were from the local high school, and we had, especially at that first one, because it's right across from the high school, we had a lot of kids that were there with their babies, which was sad and great to see at the same time that they were, trying to find out the information that they needed. Yeah, we probably had half of our group that first time was probably teenagers.
Okay, so where we're going to take this program in the future. There's always room for growth and things to make a program better. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about was how we're going to make, what changes we're going to make to the program to try and make it more successful. And one of the surprising things to us was that as we continued doing the baby showers, we would have people contacting us because word of mouth would get out and they would see how successful it was, or other agencies would talk about it and they would say, oh yeah, we did this baby shower and it was really great and we had a lot of contacts and we met a lot of new parents. You should really do this. So before our next baby shower, we were even getting calls from organizations that wanted to partner with us and be part of the event. So you may see that with yours. One of the other things we did was we tried to do cold calls again and just try and reach out for other partners that hadn't worked with us at each event or at the previous event, just trying to make sure that it got bigger and that we were getting everybody in the community involved, because that makes it more successful and a better event for the attendees. One of our partner contacts that we made was with our local March of Dimes, and they were considering doing a baby shower themselves, but our contact with the health department let them know that we were doing baby showers and that it might be a good partnership for our local March of Dimes to partner with us. So one of the things that they want to do is a luncheon for parents in conjunction with the baby showers. They have a partnership with Walmart that they wanted to give away larger prizes and giveaways, so that's something you could always do, is partner with a store to do giveaways. So we're hoping to try and make that part of the future baby shower presentation. Also, guest speakers are something that we want to make sure that we connect with because we want to make sure that parents are getting information. So we thought, why not have someone like a nutritionist or a doctor come in and do special, maybe like a basic 15-minute talk at the beginning of a baby shower to address issues that they may come up with. And this is one of the things that we've incorporated for our upcoming baby shower that's going to happen in November on the 13th, is to try, and I think they're doing it on CPR, to give more education to parents, not just pick it up as you can at the booths, but also give them some sort of factual thing to leave with. One of the other things we want, since collections is such a big thing at libraries, of course, we really are going to try and push circulation as part of the program. In addition to giving a book to a kid and having them leave with one, we want to make sure that we're really connecting parents with our collections. So not only signing them up for library cards if they don't have one, but also highlighting certain materials that they may find interesting in our collection. So bringing up our picture books, pulling relevant parenting information, and then having those available to check out during the baby shower. So if you're in a library, you can do that, or if you're not in a library, if you're in a community center and you're doing the program and you don't have access to your library, do off-site checkouts. Bring the collection with you so that you're making sure to connect them with the books, because that's the most important part of a library. And the other thing that we're trying to incorporate more of in the future is donations. A program like this can get really expensive, and budgets as they are, they dwindle for things like programming. So we really wanted to try and make connections with agencies to get donations of things like formula, diapers, clothing, so that attendees can not only leave with information, but a small supply of things that they can take home with them to care for their infants, because a lot of our attendees are not necessarily well off, so they may not have access to these things. So providing them with some basic resources is something that we want to make sure that we have them do. So I think that we are, and we ended the slide with the cute little baby. We did realize as we were looking at it that this baby's probably 3 right now. So does everyone have any questions about our program? You can go ahead and put them into chat or raise your hand.
I see that Naomi is typing, and so don't hesitate to do that and type away. And so, what was the large budget is what Naomi asks. Okay, Sara or Charity, how much money did how much money did it take to put this on? Even though Sarah's mic is on, we're having some issues hearing you.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
There we go. Now we
okay.
can.
All right. I'll start over now. It was kind of a sliding cost because the first time out was the most expensive because we bought all of our craft supplies basically at the get-go. And we probably spent about $500 on just craft supplies. So the fleece, we did bibs and then we went to onesies, and felt markers and scissors for the program because it's really hard to cut fleece with dull scissors, we found. So we had to have new scissors for the program. So it was probably about, like I said, $500 in craft supplies right at the beginning. But from there, we had craft supplies for subsequent baby showers. So from there, it was really basically getting the cake. If we needed to buy more water, it was probably about, I don't know, $50 for each one after that. But then after you account for staff time, which financially I'm not sure exactly how much, but.
Would you say if someone had $100, they could do a program? How many programs
Oh,
do you do?
absolutely.
Okay.
With the
would you say 50?
with the
You could do it for 50 or 100, or you pretty much how much do you think?
I would say 100 would easily get you a program. I mean, it depends on how elaborate you have it, if you could get anything donated. The only thing that we paid for on every baby shower time was a cake and potentially some water. And a cake at Costco is $15 to $20, and then we got the water at Costco too, so a 24-pack is like $6. And that's the only thing that we paid for every time. It would a lot depend on what you expect your attendance would be. Because our first one was by far our most expensive one, not only because that's when we bought all our supplies, but that was also our largest turnout. That was just an amazing turnout. I see the what about book giveaways where they donated. We actually give away books for our summer reading program, or we have in the past. And so they were left over from summer reading. So they weren't donated, but we didn't exactly buy them for this program either. We do have, like Charity was talking about, the Reading Foundation gives away books as well, and they are always willing to give us books for anything that we need, such as a baby shower. So if we hadn't had them already, we would have been able to get them donated from the Reading Foundation. Back on you could definitely do it for $100. The thing that comes up is buying fleece can get expensive depending on how much of it you need. If you decided to do probably the blankets was the most expensive craft. And so if you didn't do that one, you could definitely get in for $100. If you only expect maybe 20 people, you could probably do both crafts and get it in for $100.
Did you have any feedback about the fact now that newborns aren't supposed to have blankets or things like that?
No, we really didn't. And since, I mean, kind of the feedback on that is for swaddling, and it wasn't really a giant blanket. It was probably about 10 inches when it was finished. So it was just like a little
pro.
Like a comfort. That was like a little comfort blanket or like a little.
Oh, that's nice.
Feely thing. So it wasn't something that could completely engross them.
Okay. Okay, good. I just wondered because I was shocked when I went to a baby shower and was told that you no longer did those type of things. I was like, really?
Oh.
Okay. All right. Okay, so you did any other questions that folks have? I'm sure they'll be more than happy to share their expertise. So basically it's just a matter of you have to select a craft, it sounds like, or crafts, find something that fits your budget, provide a little food, and then get the word out and partner with agencies. Is that kind of a very concise? I mean, that makes it sound so easy. It isn't.
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenge and the most important part of the program is connecting with the agencies to bring in the information. So if you cannot do anything else, if you can't do the cake, if you can't do crafts, to make it kind of a fun atmosphere, I would say just making the contacts with your community and having that to grow from programs in the future is the most important key part of the program.
Okay, did you see your next question down in the chat?
I did.
How far in advance?
Advertising. How far in advance? We typically did advertising about a month in advance. Our marketing department has a certain, I guess, flow in terms of when they want to release information about an upcoming program, because if you release it too early, then people will forget about it. If you release it too late, then they don't have enough time to prepare. So usually it's about a month in advance is when we start giving the baby shower invites to partner organizations and promoting the program itself.
How many promotions did you do? So in other words, you have one a week. Do you just send out those initial invitations? Do you follow up with phone calls?
We would send out the initial invitations about a month in advance, and we would put the information on our website as well. And then coming up to the event, we would usually contact our partner organizations and remind them that this event is happening. But that usually was done with email, so that we didn't have to do another, I guess, push of printed flyers.
Okay, that's good. I see we have additional typing going on. We have some folks, it looks like, typing a question, so we'll wait for that to get through the internet to us.
I did want to add that
any other questions that people can use?
Could I add that most of our partner organizations were really excited about the opportunity because, you know, a lot of them are kind of stuck in their office, and to get information about their services out is kind of hard for them. They don't necessarily have a marketing budget or someplace to go to talk about their services. So what we found, and this we've always heard is a lot of people's issue with trying to do something like this is, where do you get these organizations to come out and do these things? And from our experience, they are so excited to come and present their information because it gives them that opportunity to reach out to their target population that they really need to be getting in touch with, but they have a hard time doing that through their normal channels. And so we had no problem getting people to share information about the baby shower, or, you know, pass out the invites or any of that, because they were just so excited to be part of it.
That's good to hear. Diane says that the local genealogical society also might like to participate with information for families. I think people who'd like to connect with families, this is another thing to reach out for them. And I say, will the slides for the presentation be available? Yes, they will. Jeremy posts them up on the web, on our website, usually by noon today, if not sooner. So absolutely by the end of the day, all the slides from the presentation will be available. Any other questions or comments? While we're waiting for folks to type, I just want to mention our next month's topic. Our next month's topic is Easy Readers Aren't So Easy. And that will be a whole program on you know, how to assess first readers for children, and talking about how to deal with them. So, any other questions now? I see one other person typing. So I wanted to thank Charity and Sara for their information. It was very informative, and we appreciate the time you took to share it with everyone. So thank you. So I don't see anything. Well, let's see, Katie, some others. Thanks. We are seeing some folks say thank you. And since we are closing in on 10 o'clock, I think we'll say thanks for everyone for attending. And I see, like I say, it's more folks typing. And so if anyone needs to run for the desk, we certainly will understand that you need to step away. But thanks again for attending, and we hope to see you come to another presentation.